What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars walks into what should be a routine morning show interview, only to find himself face to face with a host who seems determined to tear him down on live television? What you're about to witness is the moment when professional courtesy completely broke down, when the cameras kept rolling despite the chaos, and when Joy Behar pushed Tom Cruise so far that she had no choice but to stop the show entirely. This is the story of the most explosive interview in daytime television history, where every question became a trap and every answer became a battle. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment because you're not going to believe what happens next. The morning started like any other at the View studio. Tom Cruise had arrived early, his usual charming self, greeting the production crew with handshakes and that signature smile that had made him one of the most beloved actors in the world. He was there to promote his latest action film, expecting the kind of lighthearted conversation that morning shows were known for. What he didn't expect was Joy Behar's mood that day. "Tom Cruise, everybody," Joy announced as the cameras rolled, her voice carrying an edge that regular viewers might have missed, but Tom picked up immediately. The man who thinks he can do all his own stunts, and apparently thinks he can do a lot of other things too. Tom's smile faltered for just a moment before he recovered. "Well, Joy, it's great to be here. I've always enjoyed coming on The View." "Have you really?" Joy shot back, leaning forward in her chair. "Because I have to ask, Tom, when you're hanging off the side of a building or jumping off a cliff for a movie, do you ever think about the message you're sending to young people? That reckless behavior is somehow glamorous?" The other hosts exchanged glances. This wasn't the tone they had discussed in the pre-show meeting. Whoopi Goldberg shifted uncomfortably in her seat, clearly sensing that Joy was going off script. Tom maintained his composure, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Joy, I work with the best stunt coordinators and safety teams in the business. Every sequence is meticulously planned and rehearsed. I would never put anyone at risk, including myself, for the sake of entertainment. But you do put yourself at risk." Joy pressed, her voice getting sharper. "And you do it because your ego demands it. Isn't that right? You can't stand the idea of someone else getting credit for your action scenes." "That's not accurate at all," Tom replied, his famous smile now completely gone. "I do my own stunts because I believe it serves the story and gives audiences the most authentic experience possible. It's about craft, not ego." Joy let out a laugh that sounded more like a bark. "Craft? Tom, you're an actor. Your craft is supposed to be acting, not defying death for publicity stunts. But I guess when your personal life becomes as much of a circus as it has, you need those publicity stunts, don't you?" The studio fell silent. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. Whoopi tried to intervene. "Joy, maybe we should focus on the film itself." But Joy wasn't finished. "No, Whoopi, I think our audience deserves to know who they're really supporting when they buy movie tickets. Tom, let's talk about your involvement with Scientology and how that affects your judgment, both personally and professionally." Tom's face went red. "Joy, my personal beliefs are exactly that, personal. I'm here to talk about my movie, not to be ambushed about my faith." "Ambushed?" Joy's voice rose. "Tom, you've made your beliefs very public. You've criticized psychiatry, you've made controversial statements about medication, and you've recruited other celebrities into your organization. How is asking about the impact of those actions an ambush?" "Because this isn't journalism, Joy," Tom said, his voice steady but his anger clearly building. "This is a hit job disguised as an interview. You invited me here under false pretenses." Joy slammed her hand on the desk. "False pretenses? I invited you here to have an honest conversation, something you seem incapable of having. Every answer you give is a rehearsed soundbite designed to protect your image. And every question you're asking is designed to tear down mine," Tom fired back. "You're not interested in my work or my film. You're interested in creating controversy for ratings." The tension in the studio was now palpable. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Sonny Hostin was frantically scribbling notes, probably trying to figure out how to salvage the segment. But Joy was just getting started. "You know what, Tom? You're right. I am interested in controversy because I think the public has a right to know when celebrities use their platform to promote dangerous ideas. When you tell people that psychiatry is a pseudoscience, When you discourage people from seeking mental health treatment, that's not just your personal belief anymore. That's potentially harmful misinformation. Tom stood up from his chair, his microphone still attached. I have never told anyone not to seek help if they need it. You're twisting my words and my beliefs to fit your narrative. Sit down, Tom, Joy commanded, pointing at his chair. We're not done here. Actually, we are, Tom said, reaching for his microphone pack. This isn't an interview anymore. This is an attack. And I won't sit here and be subjected to it. Joy's eyes flashed with something that looked almost like triumph. Running away when the questions get tough? That's very telling, Tom. Very telling indeed. Tom stopped in his tracks, his hand still on his microphone. The challenge in Joy's voice was unmistakable, and everyone in the studio could feel the moment balanced on a knife's edge. Would he walk away and give her the victory she seemed to be seeking? Or would he sit back down and continue this verbal warfare? Tom's hand slowly moved away from his microphone pack. He turned back toward Joy, his eyes narrowing as he made his decision. You know what, Joy? You're right. Let's finish this conversation. He sat back down, but this time he didn't settle into the relaxed posture of a typical talk show guest. He sat on the edge of his chair, leaning forward, matching Joy's aggressive energy. You want to talk about dangerous ideas? Let's talk about the dangerous idea that ambush journalism passes for legitimate interviewing these days. Joy's smile was cold. Oh, so now I'm the problem? Not the man who jumps on couches and tells people their depression medication is wrong? I never told anyone their medication was wrong, Tom said, his voice rising. I expressed my personal views about the over-medication of society, which is a legitimate concern shared by many medical professionals. Many medical professionals in your church, you mean? Joy shot back. Whoopi tried again to regain control. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. No, we're not, Joy said firmly, not taking her eyes off Tom. This is live television, and our audience deserves to see this conversation through to its conclusion. The director in the control room was frantically gesturing, but Joy ignored him completely. She had gone rogue, and everyone knew it. You want to finish this, Joy? Fine, Tom said, his voice now matching her intensity. Let's talk about your dangerous ideas. Let's talk about how you use this platform to spread political propaganda disguised as entertainment. Let's talk about how you attack anyone who doesn't conform to your narrow worldview. Joy's face flushed red. Political propaganda? Tom, I express my opinions. That's what this show is about. But you hide behind this fake movie star persona while promoting a cult that has destroyed families. Cult? Tom's voice was deadly quiet now. Did you just call my religion a cult on national television? If the shoe fits, Joy said with a shrug that was clearly designed to provoke. The other hosts were now completely silent, watching this car crash unfold in real time. Sarah Haynes had her hand over her mouth. Sunny Hostin was staring at Joy like she'd never seen her before. Tom stood up again, but this time he didn't head for the exit. Instead, he walked around the table until he was standing directly in front of Joy's chair. You want to attack my beliefs? Fine. But don't you dare hide behind the pretense of journalism while you do it. What you're doing right now isn't brave, it's cowardly. Joy didn't back down. She looked up at him from her chair, her chin raised defiantly. Cowardly? Tom, I'm the only person in this room with the guts to ask you the questions that need to be asked. Everyone else is too starstruck or too scared of your lawyers to hold you accountable. Accountable for what? Tom demanded. For being successful? For having different beliefs than you? For not conforming to your idea of what a celebrity should be? Accountable for using your influence irresponsibly? Joy fired back. Accountable for promoting pseudoscience. Accountable for being part of an organization that harasses critics and former members. Tom's hands were shaking now, whether from anger or adrenaline. It was impossible to tell. You know what, Joy? You talk about harassment? What do you call this? What do you call inviting someone onto your show under the pretense of promoting their work, only to launch into a personal attack? I call it holding celebrities accountable, Joy said, standing up now to meet him face to face. Something that doesn't happen nearly enough in this town. They were now standing less than 3 feet apart, both of them breathing heavily, the tension so thick it felt like the air itself might catch fire. You want to hold me accountable? Tom said, his voice low and dangerous. Then let's talk about accountability. Let's talk about how you've built a career on tearing people down. Let's talk about how you hide your own insecurities behind this mask of righteous indignation. Joy's eyes blazed. My insecurities? Tom, I'm not the one who needs to hang off buildings to feel important. I'm not the one who needs an entire organization to validate my existence. And I'm not the one who needs to destroy other people on television to feel relevant. Tom shot back. The control room was in chaos. Producers were screaming into headsets, trying to figure out how to handle this situation. The show was supposed to have ended minutes ago, but neither Joy nor Tom seemed aware that they were still on live television. Whoopi finally stood up, her voice booming across the studio. That's enough. Both of you. Sit down right now. But Joy was beyond listening to reason. No, Whoopi. This is exactly what this show needs. Real conversation. Instead of softball questions. And fake smiles. Real conversation? Tom laughed, but there was no humor in it. Joy. This isn't conversation. This is a public execution. And you're enjoying every minute of it. You're damn right I'm enjoying it, Joy said, no longer even trying to hide her hostility. Do you know how many people you've hurt with your irresponsible statements about mental health? Do you know how many families have been torn apart by the organization you represent? Tom's face went white. How dare you? How dare you blame me for other people's choices? How dare you pretend that you care about families when you're trying to destroy mine on live television? I'm not trying to destroy anything, Joy said. I'm trying to expose the truth about who you really are, behind all the charm and the movie star smile. The truth? Tom stepped even closer. You want the truth, Joy? The truth is that you're a bitter, angry person who uses this platform to spread hate and division. The truth is that you've turned what should be a celebration of different perspectives into a weapon for personal attacks. Joy's hand moved toward the emergency button that would cut the live feed, but she hesitated. This was the most riveting television she'd ever been part of, and despite everything, she didn't want it to end. Personal attacks? She said. Tom, everything I've said about you is a matter of public record. Your own words, your own actions. If you can't handle being confronted with them, maybe you shouldn't be in the public eye. Tom shook his head slowly. You know what the real tragedy is here, Joy? You had a chance to have a meaningful conversation about art, about filmmaking, about the things that actually matter. Instead, you chose this. You chose to turn it into a circus. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every word, every expression, every moment of this unprecedented breakdown of professional decorum. And Joy Behar, realizing that she had pushed things further than anyone had ever pushed them before, was about to make a decision that would change everything. Joy's hand hovered over the emergency button as she stared into Tom's eyes, seeing something there that gave her pause. For the first time since this confrontation began, she saw not the movie star, not the celebrity she'd been determined to tear down, but a human being who was genuinely hurt by her attacks. But instead of backing down, something darker took hold of her. You want to talk about circuses, Tom? Let's talk about the circus that is your personal life. Let's talk about your marriages, your relationships with your children, your complete inability to maintain normal human connections. The studio gasped collectively. Even for Joy, this was crossing a line that no professional interviewer should cross. Tom's face went through a series of emotions, shock, pain, and then something that looked almost like pity. Joy, he said quietly, his voice now steady despite the tremor of emotion underneath. I feel sorry for you. I genuinely feel sorry for you. Those words hit Joy like a physical blow. Of all the responses she had expected, pity wasn't one of them. Sorry for me? You feel sorry for me? Yes, Tom said, stepping back slightly but maintaining eye contact. Because this isn't about me at all, is it? This is about whatever pain you're carrying, whatever anger is eating you up inside that makes you think it's acceptable to treat another human being this way. Joy's composure finally cracked. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. Don't you dare try to turn this around and make me the villain here. I'm not making you anything, Tom replied. You're doing that all by yourself. Right now, in front of millions of people, you're showing them exactly who you are. Whoopi stood up again, her voice cutting through the tension. Joy, this has gone far enough. We need to end this now. But Joy spun around to face Whoopi, her eyes wild. End it? Why? Because Tom Cruise can't handle being asked tough questions? Because he's too fragile to deal with real scrutiny? This isn't scrutiny, Joy, Whoopi said firmly. This is cruelty, and it stops now. Tom looked at Whoopi with gratitude, then back at Joy. You know what the saddest part about this is? You could have been better than this. You could have used this opportunity to have a real conversation about the things you're passionate about. Instead, you chose to be exactly what people say is wrong with media today. Joy's face contorted with rage. What people say is wrong with media? Tom, people say a lot of things. They say your organization spies on critics. They say it breaks up families. They say it demands absolute loyalty from its members. Should I believe everything people say? Some things are true and some things aren't, Tom said calmly. But what's true is what everyone just witnessed here today. What's true is that you invited me here not to inform your audience, but to satisfy your own need to tear someone down. The control room director was now in Joy's earpiece, practically screaming at her to wrap up the segment, but she ripped the earpiece out and threw it on the floor. You want to know what's true? Joy shouted. What's true is that celebrities like you think you can come on shows like this and control the narrative. What's true is that you expect us to ask you softball questions about your movies while ignoring the elephant in the room. Tom shook his head sadly. The elephant in the room, Joy, is your complete lack of professionalism. The elephant in the room is that you've turned this show into your personal therapy session, working out your own issues at my expense. That was the final straw. Joy's face turned purple with rage, and she slammed both hands on the desk with such force that her coffee mug fell over, spilling its contents across her notes. That's it, she screamed. That's enough. This interview is over. This show is over. She reached for the emergency button, but Tom's voice stopped her. No, Joy. Don't stop the show. Let people see this. Let them see what happens when someone abandons basic human decency for the sake of ratings. Joy's hand froze inches from the button. You want them to see this? You want them to see you getting destroyed on live television? Tom's smile returned, but it wasn't the charming movie star smile anymore. It was something sadder and wiser. I want them to see the truth. I want them to see that I came here in good faith to talk about my work, and you turned it into an attack. I want them to see who really got destroyed here today. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Joy looked around the studio, seeing the faces of her co-hosts, the crew members, the producers. In every face, she saw the same thing: disappointment, embarrassment, and something that looked like shame. For a moment, the old Joy seemed to return. She looked confused, almost lost, as if she couldn't quite believe what she had just done. I was just trying to ask the tough questions that needed to be asked. No, Tom said gently. You were trying to hurt me. And you succeeded. But in doing so, you hurt yourself more. Joy looked down at the spilled coffee spreading across her desk, at the chaos she had created, at the wreckage of what should have been a simple morning interview. When she looked back up, her eyes were filled with something that might have been regret. I think, she said quietly, we should go to commercial. But Tom shook his head. No more commercials, Joy. No more pretending this didn't happen. You wanted real television? This is as real as it gets. Joy's hand moved toward the emergency button one final time, but now it was shaking. She could feel the weight of what she had done, the knowledge that she had crossed every line of professional decorum, that she had revealed something ugly about herself that could never be taken back. Joy, Whoopi said softly, just push the button. Joy looked at her longtime friend and colleague, then at Tom, who was standing there with a dignity she had tried so hard to strip away from him. She looked at the cameras that were still rolling, capturing every moment of her public humiliation. With a trembling hand, she pressed the button. The red lights on the cameras went dark. The studio fell silent except for the sound of Joy's heavy breathing. Tom carefully removed his microphone and set it on the table. Thank you for having me, he said to the room in general, his voice calm and professional. It's been educational. As he walked toward the exit, Joy called after him. Tom. He stopped and turned back to her, waiting. But Joy had nothing left to say. She had spent all her words, all her anger, all her righteousness. And in the end, she was left with nothing but the echo of her own cruelty and the knowledge that she had destroyed something that could never be rebuilt. Tom nodded once and walked out, leaving Joy Behar sitting alone at her desk, surrounded by the wreckage of the most explosive interview in television history. The interview that no one would ever forget. The interview that showed what happens when professional journalism dies and personal vendetta takes its place. The interview that proved sometimes the person asking the questions reveals more about themselves than the person answering them. What did you think about this explosive confrontation? Was Joy Behar right to push Tom Cruise this hard? Or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more shocking celebrity moments that you won't see anywhere else.